Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to another review. This is thanks to my friend Efree, who sent this to me, because this is part of a Blu-ray DVD combo pack, and he had no use for the Blu-ray, so I'm like, I'll take it. And that's the thing, if anyone out there, I'll just put this out there, if you ever have a Blu-ray DVD combo, and you don't want one of them, even if it's just, if you don't want the DVD or whatever, feel free to let me know. I'll take it off your hands and do a review for it or whatever. Feel free to let me know. I'm greedy like that. But honestly, this is a film I had not seen in a long time. So it was kind of like seeing it for the first time. And that is a film called Motel Hell from Scream Factory. And stars Rory Calhoun, and I liked the film overall. I liked it. 1980 film. One thing I'll say, okay, I got the end of this, because I know my friend Efree will ask me about the features on this. Are pretty damn lame. There's a commentary with the director that's boring as sin, of sloth, as in laziness. Director's commentary is boring as hell. And, some people ask, well, why do you care about features? Because I love learning about the making of movies. I love learning about how movies get made. There's a lot of features I love. John Carpenter and Kurt Russell do great commentaries. A lot of John Carpenter films have some good features. Halloween 2 and 3, those had good features from Scream Factory. John Carpenter's The Thing, that documentary was great. Documentary on Blade Runner and the features on the Alien films. And Joe Bob Briggs commentaries when he used to do them for a couple of movies. I wish he would continue doing those. Or, I could go on and on. There's a lot of movies with features that I find interesting and fascinating and some good stories behind them. This, though, the commentary is fucking boring. There is a featurette on the making of the film where you have the director and the producers, about 24 minutes long, and it's really not tremendous amount of stuff that you learn. It's not, other than, how they got the idea, pretty much how they liked old horror movies, and how at the time, it was kind of different with horror and humor. Wasn't the first time you did horror and humor? I mean, hell, you could say go back to, films like Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein. I mean, you had films like Piranha. That had horror and humor with it that Joe Dante did. You had, I know there was one, Love at First Bite or something. I mean, you had certain films that dealt with horror and humor in it. Now, of course, later on, you had films like, I would say Waxwork 1 and 2 did a little bit of that. Fright Night did a bit with that, and so on and so forth. But this is 1980, and so it wasn't really the norm. And about at the time, there was a lot of slasher films coming out, or The Shining. It was slasher films or The Shining for horror films. So a film like this was a little bit strange, I think, for people in 1980. But yeah, the feature, the making of, really, I can't really remember much of anything being said about the making of the film. There's a little feature on the female character of Ida, and they talk like these other girls, or I'm like, who the fuck are any of these? I didn't know who the fuck any of them were. Apparently they've been, I didn't know who the fuck any of these women were. And they're talking about a little bit on the Ida character, then they talk about people like other women in slasher horror movies, not just slasher, but horror movies. And I'm like, why the fuck is this on this DVD? This is a featurette that, what's the point of this being on the DVD? My friend put up an interesting point. They mentioned Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct. And I guess I can ask people, was she a killer in those movies? For one, I don't remember Basic Instinct, I'll be honest. I saw that film, like clips of it one time. But from what I understand, wasn't she not an actual killer in those movies? At least the first movie? Was she not actually a killer, but she was just a suspect? Or kinky, and whatever the hell she was? Seen her pussy? So I'm like, the fuck? It was a stupid fucking featurette. It was fucking pointless. Interview with the guy who plays sort of the hero of our film, the police, sort of the sheriff, who's the younger brother of Rory Calhoun. Uh, that was an okay interview. You have an interview with a guy who was part of the band, and he has probably, what, 5 minutes of screen time? There's really nothing to it. You have another interview with a girl who is one of the, well, not quite victims, but one of them who was part of this, which I'll get to. Decent interview. It just really, like, it looks like a lot of stuff, but at the same time, it much ado about nothing. I don't know, maybe there just weren't that much interesting stories, I guess. Maybe it was a boring movie to make. I don't know, because it had some boring interviews. But, yeah, the features aren't much of shit. But the movie I liked, and I liked it because I definitely like Rory Calhoun in the movie as Farmer Vincent. It takes all kinds of critters to make Vincent. She said it wrong. It takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent fritters. I thought the guy did a really good job, and I really liked him in the film. That's the main reason. I thought the girl who played Ida, I forget her name, but she was also in Porky's. Sort of the woman, that big, big woman who is. I forgot her character name in that movie too. I thought she did a good job. I thought the guy who played sort of our lead, the sheriff, who's sort of the kid brother of Rory Calhoun, I thought he did a decent job. And it's an interesting idea. I mean, Farmer Vincent, Ida they have this secret garden where they bury people, like they knock them out, then they bury them till it's just this. They cut their throats, and then they sew them up, and they feed them, I guess, till they're fat enough or tender enough or whatever. And then he like uses this thing to hypnotize some of them, like, you know, make them relax, put these nooses around their neck, takes his tractor and breaks their necks and pulls them out and uses them for his meat. And of course, the reason it's called Motel Hell is because it's really called Motel Hello, but the O keeps fluttering in and out until the end of the film, where the last shot is the O explodes and it says Motel Hell. Which is a little detail, but I like that little detail. But I don't know, I thought it had a pretty decent sense of humor. And of course, the most famous scene in this movie is there's a chainsaw battle between the kid brother sheriff, who's again sort of our hero. Not even sort of, he's our hero. And Farmer Vincent, who has like a pig's head on. I thought it was definitely an interesting scene. Definitely an interesting, fun little scene. And I had fun with it. Again, this is pretty much kind of like watching it for the first time, because I barely remember much. I mean, I remember vaguely that scene. But pretty much, I mean, the story, it's, you know, from time to time they set traps out on the road, and this motorcycle guy and the woman with them, they fall off. Farmer Vincent, you know, gets the guy into his garden, but the girl he takes sort of a liking to and heals her back up, and ultimately she's like, what's going on? He tells him that the guy's dead. Officer to stay. Ultimately, she does. I don't really buy this, though. That's one thing about the film I'm kind of don't care for. Is that by throughout the film, she falls in love with Farmer Vincent. Now, on one hand, Rory Calhoun does a really good job because he's a very charming guy. He seems like a very nice guy. He's a likable guy. Even though he's doing shitty things, I thought he was actually a really likable guy. He's definitely my Farmer Vincent character is definitely my favorite part of the film because he's a really charming, nice guy. I like this scene. You have this Bob, the inspector, because like he's looking and like nonchalant, with a nice, calm look on his face. He just takes a meat cleaver and scares him because he hits the leg right here. It's like, uh, so how'd they look, Bob? I can't explain it, but it just made me chuckle and laugh just the way he did that, and he freaked out Bob the inspector. I don't know, just the way he did that with the meat cleaver, and just how calm his face was. He wasn't trying to be scary or intimidating or creepy. He was just being nice, like, hey, how's it going, Bob? How'd they look, Bob? Like, just the way he did that, I thought he was pretty funny. And of course, Bob the Inspector later on finds the secret garden, and that's just an interesting idea. I mean, it's not something you see every day where they bury people, up to here, and break their necks. But what's weird though is, okay, they cut their necks so they don't talk. That's why. But why is it that these guys kind of act like zombies? It almost looks like they fucked up their heads too. I don't know if they're drugging them up or something. Maybe I missed that part, and I'm being stupid. But okay, they cut their throats so they can't talk. But I swear, sometimes the way these guys act is like a zombie or like a 28 Days Later type of thing. I don't know, just almost looks like they gave them something in their head instead of their throat. I don't know how to explain it. It's like sometimes they act like if someone would act was like, but instead it's like again, it's like, okay, cutting your throat made you become an animal. I don't know if it's because they went crazy or they gave them drugs and I missed that part and it flew over my head. But that was something I'm a little bit confused by. I'm sure someone will explain I missed something, but... And yeah, throughout the film you have a couple people who get captured, like this band called Ivan the Terribles, in which you also have, what was the guy's name? John Ratzenberger, I believe his name, from Cheers. He was also in House 2. He was part of the gang. He didn't really have anything to do. That's probably why there's no point interviewing, because what's he going to say? He didn't really have any dialogue that I remember, and he sat in a hole and got his neck broken. So, like they said, bear traps get set and the van tips over and they get those guys. There's these two women in which they stop and they find out that these cows in front are actually fake. They're decoys, and they get those two girls. One actually gets away in a car chase. Well, I don't want to say car chase. Well, it is a car chase, but it's not like an exciting car chase. And that starts the kid brother, the sheriff, which I'm like, okay, he's the kid brother, and I'm like, wow, he's a really shitty sheriff for not noticing this. I know in the last minute they throw in something like, yeah, thank God I ran away when I was 11. And I'm like, how did that work? You ran away when you were 11? When did you come back? Did you come back like a year later? 10 years later? I mean, you're still a shitty sheriff for not noticing this until now. But he does become the hero at the end. He didn't know anything that was going on. It just makes him look like a really shitty sheriff. But let's see. There's some lines I like. Like I said, it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters, or Meat's meat and a man's gotta eat. One scene that was kind of weird is during that car chase. I don't know how the fuck the girl got caught. Just Farmer Vincent's chasing her in one truck. She's in her car. Okay, she's getting hit from behind, and she like yelps, and then she just sort of does this, and I'm like, did she pass out? Did she? What the fuck happened? Did she just pass out? Did she say fuck this, I give up, and just slump over? I mean, what the fuck happened? So I don't know how the hell she got caught or whatever. And then one that I didn't mind these two guys. There's a guy and a girl. One guy with like a little mustache. I forget the guy's name. I think the actor's like, I think he's like, the actor's name's like Dick Curtis or something like that. It's like this mustache, and him and this woman. They're like they're like a kinky couple, and I guess they thought this motel was a hot spot. And I don't know, the guy, I liked him. I liked his role. He's talking about like, I could dig it. Or they get in the room and he's like talking to his woman. He's like, oh, hold me up, baby. I guess they think that Farmer Vincent and Ida are going to join them in sexcapades. And I'm like, you look at Farmer Vincent and Ida. I'm like, okay. For some reason, these two people think that those two people would be into that. But, you know, they get, of course, caught and put in the secret garden. But I don't know, I like that guy. I think the actor's name is Dick Curtis, but I liked him. A couple stuff he did made me chuckle. I think that's the thing, like, there's a couple stuff that made me chuckle, and the idea was interesting enough for me, and I thought the actors, for the most part, did a good job. I mean, the lead girl, she was there. I didn't think she was great. The lead girl, I thought she was there, but she wasn't great. I think you could have gotten a better actress, to be perfectly honest. She's one of the weak points of the film, and a couple of little stuff that didn't make sense to me. Like that one girl that looks like she just passed out, or some little stuff like that. And then like that girl falling in love with Farmer Vincent. I mean, again, the Farmer Vincent character, he's a charming guy. He seems like a nice guy. At the same time, I don't buy this lead girl who is much younger than Farmer Vincent falling in love with him to the point that she's okay that he wants to marry her. Yeah, we're getting married the next day, and I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't. So that's that's another weak point in the film. But you know, the sheriff starts looking into it. First I was like, oh, you can't marry him, and he starts making fun of Farmer Vince. It's like, you know, when you get in bed and you see his pecker is gonna be shrilled up, and then Farmer Vincent stares on with a shotgun, and I'm sorry you're taking this so hard, while Farmer Vincent points the shotgun at his crotch. I mean, that made me chuckle, and then stares the sheriff off. But again, that's when he starts noticing little stuff, and I'm like, about fucking time, sheriff. Tells the girl, and then there's another thing, like how the folks start escaping from the secret garden, because this is right after they've gotten a couple of the people and killed them, broke their necks, and pulled them out. I guess they weren't as careful as they usually are, because again, these guys start escaping from the secret garden and dig themselves. At least one guy digs himself up and digs the others up. Like I said, they act like zombies for the most part. Like, they're not punching and kicking. I mean, I guess, you know, I don't know. It just kind of weird. I'm like, did they give them like a lobotomy? Not lobotomy, but fuck with their head too? They're just supposed to be out of it. I don't know. Guess I would be out of it if I was buried, you know, up to my fucking neck and had my throat cut. I'd be probably out of it too, but I'd be pissed and wanting to punch some shit. pretty much the girl finds out what's happening. She doesn't want to marry Farmer Vincent, of course. The one that led the others out gets in, tries to fight Farmer Vincent, but gets killed. The sheriff well, Ida, she gets attacked by the other people who escaped, and we find out what happens to her later. And that's where you get the little fight between the sheriff and Farmer Vincent. Chainsaw fight. And that's the thing. How many times can you say you see a chainsaw fight? I mean, chainsaw versus chainsaw. I mean, you got Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. You got this film. Not enough chainsaw fights. To be honest, not enough movies with chainsaws in them, but not enough chainsaw fights. I mean, it's very rare that you see a chainsaw fight. So granted, the choreography isn't the best, and a little bit too times the camera's a little bit too up close, to the point that I think they could have eased the camera back and see a little bit, a little bit more of like this shot instead of up close shot. But overall, I had fun. Just hey, your bad guy has a fucking pig's head on his head, and the hero is a chainsaw, and they're both. And then this has some decent gore. It's not a gory film. It's really not that gory of a film. But you get a couple of pretty decent shots. Well, I don't want to say shots, but like Farmer Vincent gets a chainsaw into his side, and later on you see the chainsaw stuck in there, and I thought that was pretty decent effect. But it's not really too bloody of a movie. I mean, you get like little humorous, I don't want to say gore, but like the girl's talking to Ida, and then Ida's looking at a pot, and these like fingers or a hand pops up, and she's shaking it so that it goes back down so the girl doesn't notice it. You get some fun stuff like that. And then Farmer Vincent's line, what was his last line? I'm a hypocrite. I used preservatives. I just really like Rory Calhoun. I liked a lot of his lines of dialogue. I thought he delivered it pretty damn well. And Ida, you find out she's been buried head first, and that's how she dies. And that's when, the sheriff and the girl walk out, and the O of Motel Hell explodes, and you just left instead of Motel Hello, it's Motel Hell. So there's little stuff that I didn't bother with. And plus, I don't know what the fuck happened to those people who got out. I guess they dumped Ida, and I don't know where the hell they went. They went to town? Did they go to the hospital? That'd be a hell of a thing at the hospital for the doctors. Just see a bunch of guys with their throat cut and sewed at the, talking to the nurse, asking for help. I mean, I don't know what the hell. They ran off into the woods to live in a commune. I don't know what the hell happened to them. So like this little stuff that, why did that one girl just pass out? How the hell did she get caught? Why do they kind of act like their head got fucked up if it's just their throat? Maybe I missed something. If I did, I did. What happened to them after they dumped Ida? Did they disappeared in the thin air? The lead girl is not of all the actors, she's the weakest. At least the primary actors. When Rory Calhoun and the woman who played Ida, and even the guy who played the sheriff, they're good. The girl weak, and then her going to marry Farmer Vincent, I don't buy. So there's stuff that bothered me, but at the end of the day, I liked it. I thought it went at a fast enough pace. At least it didn't feel that long of a movie. It's about 100 minutes long. I was entertained by, I liked the idea behind it. I liked most of the cast. I liked. At least the primary cast I liked. The idea I liked. Some of the humor made me chuckle. Maybe wonder what was going to happen next. The chainsaw fight. I mean, it's not like fucking Matrix shit, or it's, the most well choreographed fight, but the idea behind it, and I love the idea behind it. I had fun with it. I had fun with that scene. I'm like, hey, that's a way to end a movie. A chainsaw fight, and the bad guy has a pig on his head. For 1980, it's pretty damn cool. And got a couple of chuckles out of it, and again, just the idea, and a couple of decent lines I liked. And overall, I had a good time watching. I had a good time, especially Rory Calhoun. I thought he did a really good job as Farmer Vincent. The woman who played Ida, she did a good job. Guy who played the sheriff did a good job. Fun lines of dialogue, scenes that made me chuckle, like I mentioned. You know, hey, chainsaw fight at the end. Wouldn't mind seeing more chainsaw versus chainsaw fights in movies, horror movies or the like. I mean, there's movies with chainsaws in them. I mean, The Running Man, Evil Dead, at least Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. But I mean, like chainsaw versus chainsaw, hey, should be more of them. Overall, I liked it. I liked the film. Scream Factory, the features are much, really not much. But I'm glad to just have the movie in my collection, thanks to my friend Efree. Thank you very much, Efree. Overall, I liked it. I liked it for what it was. I enjoyed the film. So either way, that's just my review of Motel Hell. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.